large police presence surrounds an apartment in Brampton after an officer-involved shooting this morning. A man injured and rushed to hospital. Good afternoon. We begin in Peel region where a man has been shot by police.
Officers say the man has been transported to hospital in serious condition. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at the scene with the details. Allison.
Details are still coming in at this point, Michelle, as officers have only been on scene for the last couple of hours. But what we do know from speaking with some of them here was that they say that the scene is inside the building. That's where the incident happened. It's unclear at this point if it was inside a residence or in a public area like the hallway or the lobby. We did also speak with a witness, a woman who lives in the building, who told us that she heard a bang this morning shortly before 10 o'clock and then screaming. She said it sounded like sad screaming. We are still waiting for a few more details from police, but let's go through what we do know. So yes, a man has been taken to hospital in serious condition, and he was shot by police. This happened just before 10 o'clock this morning. This is in the area of Malta Avenue and Ray Lawson Boulevard here in Brampton. It's a huge response from Peel Police. Most of the building has been blocked off with tape around it as officers are conducting their investigation. We have reached out to SIU. They have told us that they are waiting for more details before they are dispatched. So they are waiting for more details. Again, this really just happened only in the last couple of hours. We are expecting, though, a member of the media relations from Peel Police to arrive here on scene at some point and to give us an update. Again, this happened shortly before 10 o'clock this morning inside this building here just behind me. Unclear as to whether it was inside a residence or if it was in the public areas, but we'll be getting more details and we'll bring all of that to you later on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Allison. A pedestrian was rushed to hospital in North York early this morning after they were struck by a vehicle. Toronto police say it happened around 5:30 a.m. in the area of Bathurst and Finch. The pedestrian's injuries were deemed life-threatening, and police say the driver involved remained at the scene. Then around 7:30 in Mississauga, traffic was forced off westbound Highway 403 near Mavis after police say a person walked into traffic. OPP say he's fighting for his life in a trauma center. All the lanes have since reopened. Staying in Mississauga, no injuries reported after a transit bus caught fire yesterday evening. This happened around 6 p.m. in the area of Eglinton Ave and the Chase. The fire completely destroyed the rear of the bus. The driver and 5 passengers were all able to make it out safely. So far, there's been no word on a possible cause, but Peel Police say this incident is not considered suspicious. And still ahead on CTV News at noon, Canada joins other NATO nations committing to spend 5% of GDP on defense by the year 2035. We'll have those details coming up a little later in the newscast. But first, the sweltering temperatures of the last few days may be behind us, but the extreme heat is top of mind at City Hall.
Councillors will be discussing how to better handle emergencies like this week's heat wave. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live at City Hall with the latest. Natalie.
Hi, Nathan. This comes on the heels of an apology from Mayor Olivia Chow over the fact that a handful of city pools were closed for periods of time on Sunday during sweltering temperatures. This after the city had promoted the fact that the pools were open early this season and were accessible and available for residents as a measure to combat the heat. The mayor again today pledging that the city will do better on this file, admitting there is more work to be done. Here at council, she is asking her colleagues to support a review of the city's heat contingency strategy. That could include looking at 24/7 cooling centers, for example, as well as ensuring that nurses or paramedics are on call to support the undisrupted opening of outdoor pools. Asked this morning whether a review would have immediate implications given that summer is already here and the heat is upon us. Here's what the mayor had to say this morning.
We actually fixed the problem. It was on, now remember, the pools were open 2 weeks earlier. Normally all the pools, well, not all, a majority of them open up the end of June. So there was like, let's hire lifeguards now rather than. So we have hired more lifeguards. We have a public health nurse that do checks, make sure lifeguards are doing okay in heat. All of that problem were fixed.
I'm really disappointed with the mayor and the administration. You know, people depend on the city to get things right, and the mayor plays a crucial role in making sure that things like swimming pools are open. And, what we've seen in the last couple of years is really almost a theme of bad management. You can go back to the vacant home tax debacle, the inability to remove snow after a storm, and now closing swimming pools on the first day of a heat wave. I mean, it begs the question of, can this administration run a lemonade stand?
The mayor also suggesting the possible creation of a chief heat officer to monitor this strategy. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Natalie. We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Sunshine, a few clouds. The heat wave, thank goodness, has come to an end, but it's still a hot summer day, and there's also the possibility of showers over the next few days. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions, and we got through it.
We got through it, Nathan. Heat wave officially done. Heat warnings have come to an end. But as you mentioned, it is still hot out there. So don't let your guard down. Plan for it to feel like 35 at the height of the day today. Right now, it is 27 degrees at Pearson Airport, feeling like 33. You will find a little more relief today along the shoreline of Lake Ontario. Winds are calm. The winds are coming from a southerly direction. And already we've had a little bit of active weather today, especially for the west end of the GTA around the Niagara Peninsula and now crossing into the U.S. border. A few showers. It's going to be a mostly dry day, though, otherwise. Maybe an increase in cloud cover this afternoon. 30 degrees is our forecast daytime high. And then tomorrow, certainly a fresher feel. And you'll want to have the umbrella ready. We'll talk about how much rain could be in the forecast coming up. But for now, I'll send it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Turning to Queen's Park, where the annual Ontario Ombudsman report has just been released.
The report calling for urgent action to be taken to address overcrowded correctional facilities. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has those details. Siobhan.
Ombudsman Paul Dubé says it's a problem that can no longer be pushed aside or ignored. It comes as his office is reporting a 30-year high in the number of complaints it received over the last year. The majority of those complaints were indeed about the correctional system. They're up 55% over the previous year. Dubé says after what he's witnessed and heard from inmates and staff in correctional facilities, this is a growing crisis with all sides pleading for help. He says reform is needed as an act of public safety, human rights, basic decency, and to make sure that jails are actually rehabilitating people. Dubé listed some of the reoccurring issues his office has flagged.
Overcrowding, 3 inmates in cells made for 2. Frequent lockdowns, inadequate health care, Indigenous inmates with no access to a Native inmate liaison officer, inmates with mental health issues being placed in segregation, which is not supposed to happen. And then there was the Maplehurst incident, a 2-day ordeal in December of 2023, where many inmates were so poorly treated that they have had the charges against them reduced or even dismissed by judges.
The Ombudsman's office has launched a full-blown investigation into just that incident. We aren't getting the results of that investigation today. We did catch up with the Premier this morning, who said anybody who broke the rules at Maplehurst should be held accountable. I have reached out to the Solicitor General's office to see what their take is on this broader call for reform in correctional facilities. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Siobhan. The province has revealed the final design for a revitalized Ontario Place. Renderings of the massive waterfront project include free public trails and expanded green spaces.
But the project has been controversial, particularly around the 95-year lease the province signed with Therma Canada to create a spa. CTV's Sean Lathong has the latest.
The renderings released by the province are painting a rosy picture of what Ontario Place will one day look like. Today is a much different story. A construction site that is the Premier dreaming big.
Enjoy stunning beaches and wetlands, canoeing, boating, kayaking along our beautiful waters, and taking in concerts, markets, and festivals. This is going to be spectacular.
50 acres of public space, trails, marinas, and beaches. Budweiser Stage will become a year-round concert venue.
The public space here is 39% larger than Trinity Bellwoods Park. That splash park is going to be great for my daughter, who's going to go there and splash around and have all sorts of fun. It's probably my favorite piece.
And the controversial spa and water park that comes with a 3,500 spot parking garage.
It's going to be beautiful. We're going to have a berm at the front. You'll barely even see a parking lot.
With plans to add a fountain and some Instagrammable signs.
You watch. It's going to be probably the #1 place where people will take pictures.
The The price tag is $400 million. Ford insists that it'll bring in $60 million per year.
That will be going right into Ontario coffers to pay for health care, education, infrastructure.
His goal here is to make money off the backs of the people of Ontario to access their own parkland.
While there had been talk about moving the lot across the street, the Premier says this location is more convenient.
It's going to block views of this project from the lakeshore and from the city and sort of cut it off.
Guaranteed parking, a contractual agreement with Therma Canada, the company building the spot Ontario Place. A spokesperson says now there's parking scattered all over.
All this is a way of consolidating them to create more space for green parks and beaches and free places for people to visit.
Therma's updated plans will be released next month. This master plan does not include images of the new Science Centre planned for Ontario Place, a year after its home at Don Mills in Eglinton was abruptly closed.
We're in the market to find the appropriate builder for the Science Centre currently right now today. We anticipate to have results in the fall.
The government has insisted the Science Centre will have more exhibit space, even though the footprint will be half the size.
Shantley Thong, CTV News.
At the NATO summit in The Hague, Canada joined other NATO members in agreeing to hike its defense spending to 5% of GDP annually by 2035.
With increasingly open Arctic waters and rapid advances in cyber, in AI, and quantum, with advanced missile capacities, we can no longer rely on our geography to protect us. As the global landscape shifts, the collective security created by the alliance remains the strongest and the most effective way of protecting Canadian sovereignty and protecting the security of Canadians. So together with our allies, we must ensure that NATO remains strong, unified, and ready to confront the threats not just of today, but of tomorrow.
The Prime Minister says the new NATO agreement will see Canada's annual defense budget increase to about $150 billion. He says our military has not been properly funded, and that's resulted in equipment that doesn't work properly and underpaid service members. The alliance will review the new 5% pledge in 2029 to ensure the commitments align with the global security landscape. Canada has struggled for years to meet the previous threshold of 2%. Today, the NATO secretary said pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump played a key role in members agreeing to boost their spending.
President Trump has been clear. America is committed to NATO. He affirmed that again today in no uncertain terms. At the same time, he made clear that America expects European allies and Canada to contribute more. And that is exactly what we see them doing. European allies in Canada will do more of the heavy lifting, equalizing their spending and taking greater responsibility for our shared security.
Trump called the spending boost something no one really thought possible. That is, despite Spain having previously announced it cannot meet the new goal and others voicing reservations. This increase comes as the United States shifts its attention away from Europe to focus on security priorities elsewhere. Today, President Trump was asked about questions surrounding the extent of damage to Iran's nuclear program caused by U.S. attacks on the weekend.
When I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They were obliterated. In fact, you can't get into the tunnels. They just put that over. That just came out. They can't, there's nothing, there's no way you can even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster. And I think all of the nuclear stuff is down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very quickly. When they heard we were coming, it was, you can't move it. Very hard, very dangerous, actually, to move to. And they also knew we were coming, so I don't think too many people want to be down there knowing we're coming with the bunker busters, as we call them.
A leaked report says the American attack on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities only set the country's nuclear program back several months. For more on this, we're joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, that leaked information suggests that the U.S. bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities are not as successful as what Trump is claiming there. Certainly There is a discrepancy. What is the U.S. president saying now about the strike?
Michelle, good afternoon. As you might expect, that assessment is not sitting well with Donald Trump lashing out at people who would say otherwise, other than what he's calling it total obliteration, and any other suggestion, he says, is just flat out wrong, despite the information from that leaked report. The U.S. intelligence report suggests Iran's nuclear program didn't suffer the significant damage that Donald Trump had been boasting about, and that the 3 strikes at Iranian nuclear facilities did significant damage, but they were not totally destroyed. However, Donald Trump at that press conference at the NATO summit in the Netherlands says since that initial assessment, there has been additional intelligence which proves his assessment of the damage to be correct. And he also shared information from Israeli officials that they believe the combination of Israeli strikes and the strikes from the U.S. has set the Iranian nuclear program back several years, Michelle.
Now let's talk about the ceasefires. History has shown they're not a guarantee the fighting is over. A big question now is, will this ceasefire hold?
Michelle, at this time, this fragile ceasefire continues to hold for a second full day after Donald Trump announced it on social media late Monday, and even as both sides accused each other of violating the terms of the ceasefire in the few hours after it was announced. Now, both Iran and Israel have said they would respect the ceasefire as long as the other country doesn't violate it. Now, Trump at that NATO press conference also saying he believes the war ended when the U.S. hit those nuclear sites in Iran. Now, Donald Trump did say officials from the U.S. and Iran will be meeting next week, but he's not specifically committing to restarting nuclear negotiations, as the goal has been, the aim has been for Iran never to have a nuclear weapon. And as Donald Trump says, the nuclear program has been decimated at this time, but we'll have to wait and see what may come of those talks with Iranian officials, Michelle.
Yes, the world is watching to see what happens next here. CTV's Scott Hurst, live in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Michelle.
Meantime, a Canadian hockey player is back home after being stuck in Israel because of the conflict between Israel and Iran.
Timothy Payne touched down in Toronto today, met by family members at Pearson Airport. CTV's Mike Walker has more on the reunion. Mike.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, Timothy Payne arrived at the airport just a short time ago, and there was a huge sense of relief for the player and his family. We're going to play some video right now for you. This was just a short time ago as Timothy Payne was reunited with his parents here at the arrivals at Terminal 3 after spending days desperately searching for a way to get back to Canada. He was with his teammate Brandon Lucchese, who is also from the GTA. Both players arrived in Israel earlier this month before the war broke out between Israel and Iran. They recounted spending nights in bomb shelters as Iran launched missiles at Israel. They spent days trying to find a way out. They struggled to get any help from the Canadian embassy in Israel. And then just a few days ago, got some help from a former MP who put them in touch with a group that set up a flight out of Jordan. As soon as they got that news, it was a 21-hour journey to Jordan, which included a bus ride. And they just touched down this morning. We just spoke with them a few moments ago. Here's more from both players.
Yeah, it was unexpected. It was scary. It was a lot. I thought we were going to be stuck there, so happy to be back home.
Yeah. You were in the bomb shelters every night. Just walk me through, what was that like when you heard the sirens going?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a bomb shelter built into our house, so every night when the alarms go off, we got to run to one, and that was like down the street, so every night it was in and out, running down the street, trying to get to safety.
And I know you're home now, but did you have any response from the embassy or Global Affairs to get out, or?
Yeah, turns out Israel was on like a travel ban, like we shouldn't have gone there. So because of that, they already said they're not going to help us, but we found that out after the fact, and working with them throughout the process was difficult and with limited options.
So we got there June 1st. We probably got there till like, June 13th. And before that, it was nothing but an amazing time. Beaches were packed, people playing sports, nightlife amazing, like nothing short of like a perfect vacation. And then with a snap of a finger, everything changed.
Now, Payne and Lucchese were among 15 Canadian hockey players playing in the Israel Elite Hockey League. They tell me a couple other players have made arrangements to come back to Canada, while others are choosing to stay put following the news of the ceasefire. We'll have more on their story tonight on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live at Pearson Airport, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. 3 countries launched their first astronauts in more than 40 years today, sending them on a private flight to the International Space Station. India, Poland, and Hungary shared the tab for the 2-week mission. Axiom Space arranged the deal. The Houston company put the ticket price at more than $65 million per customer. The group's expected to be in space for about 2 weeks, helping to carry out about 60 science experiments. Privately funded missions to the space station are fairly rare, but NASA routinely sends up rotating crews to keep the orbiting lab staffed.
While the heat wave criteria has now come to an end, it is still hot out there today. And if you're looking for a way to beat the heat, happy to share that all beaches are considered safe for swimming today in the city of Toronto. And that could change over the coming days with some rain in the forecast. You don't have to worry about wet weather tonight. All should be good to go for your evening sports and activities. But yes, some wet weather into tomorrow and the risk of thunderstorms for Friday. Plus, we're going to take a look at what for many is going to be a long weekend forecast. And an early look at Canada Day is coming up after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
We're following developing news out of Newmarket, where emergency crews are responding to a serious multi-vehicle collision. Now, here's a live look at the scene from the CTV News chopper. This is near Davis Drive West and Dufferin. Now, police say a dump truck was involved in a collision with a passenger vehicle just after 10 a.m. So far, they have not confirmed the status of the people inside those vehicles or any injuries, although a tarp appears to be covering a body at the scene. Now, roads have been closed in the area for the response and investigation, and we are following this story, and we'll have more details on CTV News at 5 and 6.
But for now, we'll turn our attention to the weather forecast, and we are emerging from this heat wave, which has made Toronto, the GTA, Ontario feel like an oven. Now, when you step outside, it's still hot, but it's a noticeable difference. It feels fresher.
That's true. So true. Yesterday was like you were walking into a sauna, just stepping outside, and today is just like normal hot that we, I guess, are expecting on a summer day.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it? Suddenly today feels cool, and if you think today feels fresh, just wait until tomorrow. You might need a jacket tomorrow morning as you're venturing out the door, and perhaps an umbrella too. But we'll get to that. First, we have to talk about today. Plan on it still being hot, but no longer sweltering or scorching. We've made it through the heat wave, and it has come to an end. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Yesterday certainly was a day to beat the heat, to find a body of water to cool off in, and that's what lots of people and their pets were doing in Barrie yesterday. Happy to see that. Temperatures once again soaring into the 30s, in some cases into the mid-30s, feeling into the 40s. That was the pattern for so many days. I want to talk about the strawberry season because our colleagues at CTV Barrie caught up with some farmers in the area, and they mentioned that, it was a late start to strawberry season, and this heat could cause an early end to it. So fingers crossed that the crop will be okay by the time all this heat and humidity is finished with us. Let's take a look at yesterday's temperatures, and downtown Toronto, the big hot spot, 36.5 degrees yesterday. And for anyone paying attention, Toronto Pearson making it to 35.6. I believe that ties the record for yesterday. We'll wait for official word from Environment Canada, but what a stretch. 34 degrees, then 36, and then 35. It is 28 degrees right now, and as mentioned, under normal circumstances, we'd be calling today a hot weather day. 30 degrees will feel like 35 at the height of the afternoon, but yes, it is cooler than what we've experienced the last few days, certainly. Overnight tonight, finally back in the teens, 19 for the low. Average overnight low this time of year is about 15 degrees, so we're still warmer than normal, but certainly a little more comfortable for sleeping. And then check out tomorrow. We are talking daytime highs in the low 20s and in some cases the upper teens. That is going to feel different. We are also expecting a pretty cloudy day along with some periods of wet weather. Speaking of which, we had a few showers make their way through mainly the west end of the GTA and in through the Niagara region earlier this morning. Most areas are drying out now as we speak. We are, however, anticipating active weather for tomorrow, this time with a low pressure system that's going to sweep through. When we get an area of low pressure as opposed to pop-up thunder showers or lake breezes, it's a more widespread area that ends up being impacted. So there's early tomorrow morning. Again, heads up Niagara Falls. Then the widespread wet weather moves in midday and into the afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Risk of thunderstorms again for extreme southwest Ontario. So again, that's your Thursday evening. We here in the GTA have a chance of maybe some thunder showers for your Friday morning. And then if we can get some clearing in the afternoon, perhaps some stronger storms as we head into Friday night. So let's take you through the 7-day forecast. Plan on it being unsettled the next couple of days and a little cool, a high of only 21, 22 degrees for Thursday in Toronto. But the temperature climbs back as we make our way into the weekend. And we're back around 30 degrees by Monday of next week. That's the weather for now. I'll send it back to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, Union Summer is back. The annual market returning to the plaza in front of Union Station today, and it runs all the way until August 10th. CTV Jessica Smith is there this hour with a preview. Give us the lay of the land, Jess.
Listen, Michelle, as Lindsay mentioned, today is perfect, and it's a great day to kick off the Union Summer Series. Nicolina Bozo is performing behind me. I'm going to bring in Alexa. You're with Union. Union Summer is not new to the city, but I feel like every year it changes so much, and there's so much to expect this year. What are people looking forward to for summer of 2025?
Absolutely. I mean, it really is the ultimate destination right at Union Station. We've got 4 amazing local food vendors: Rick's Good Eats, Bovine Express with the Liberty Group, Sumac, it's a local favorite, as well as Cherry Street Barbecue. So really like top-notch lineup. We have the Malibu Bar, and we have 47 days of free live performances. So we have something for everyone.
You had me at free. We'll step out of the way for a second so people can see Nicolina behind us, but you're supporting Canadian talent, international talent. Why was it important to have so many Canadian artists a part of this?
Absolutely. Well, Union is really about celebrating everything that the city has to offer. You know, we have such amazing diversity in terms of musical talent in the city. We do have a few international artists as well who will, pepper the stage here and there, but, it's really about celebrating all that Toronto has to offer.
And I know there's a really big guest coming in tomorrow. You guys know who Cardinal Official is. Obviously a big deal here in the city of Toronto and in Canada, but how cool is that to have him here for kind of the official launch as we head in towards the beginning of Union Summer?
I mean, it's amazing. He's such an amazing talent, and, it's a great way to kick off the summer, but we have so many amazing emerging talents also going to be gracing the TD stage this summer too, so we're very excited about that as well.
And free is so important. Accessibility is really important. Why was it important for you guys to make sure that everybody walking by, because there are hundreds of thousands of people that come through Union Station every day, why was it important to make this accessible for everybody?
It's really part of Union's vision to provide free programming year-round. We have art exhibits, DJs inside, but we also have Union Summer out here. Free is so important. The city's expensive to live in. We get that. So it's really part of our offering to the city to say, come here. And also, if you happen to pay with your TD card, you can get 10% off your meal at lunchtimes every day of Union Summer between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. So again, trying to reach Torontonians where they're at.
And I know there are performances happening every single day. What are the times of those? People can make sure as they're walking by, maybe they're taking their lunch break, they're like, you know what? We caught Lindsay's forecast. We want to be outside. What times are the performances happening?
Yes, so every day, lunchtime between 12 and 1, and then in the evenings, typically between 5:30 and 9 p.m., depending on the day.
And I saw there was a trumpet player here. We've got so many amazing artists. Well, what can we expect from him? Because I saw him walking around practicing.
Yes, so that would be Rudy Ray. He has a weekly series on Sundays of a roster of amazing jazz musicians, but we have blues, we have, Indigenous music. We have dance lessons as well, everything from Afrofusion to salsa. We have day parties on Saturdays with amazing DJs, Specs to Boss, starting from scratch. You know, it's just a wild, amazing roster of programming. There's something for everyone.
I know, I can tell Nathan's ears are probably perking up when he heard Specs the Boss and starting from scratch. So if you want to find out more information, how can people do that?
Absolutely. So you can go on torontounion.ca/TDUnionSummer, or you can follow us at Toronto Union on socials.
I'm going to send things back inside. We're going to vibe out to Nicolina behind us. We're going to cry those Oscar-winning tears because the forecast is so good, but I'll send things back inside.
Yeah, I can't wait. Specs and Scratch, both great DJs. Have fun. Well, to other news, Metrolink says it's reached another milestone in its push to expand GO transit service. Officials say major construction is wrapped up at Bradford GO station. Those efforts included the installation of a new bus loop with a digital display board and heated shelter. For bus and train passengers, a new pickup and drop-off area has been installed, along with additional entrances and exits and renovations to the parking lot. Metrolink says the changes mean better transit access for Simcoe County as part of its push to bring two-way, all-day, everyday service to more areas.
Coming up on CTV News at noon, a dance party at the waterfront catering to all, injecting inclusivity into a nightclub atmosphere. Variety Village put on a dance party last night.
Participants of all ages gathered for an all-inclusive dance on Polson Street. Our health reporter Pauline Chan spoke with some of those taking part.
Brendan Healy and Kathleen Wu were warming up their dance moves on the floor at Cabana.
I like to move it.
Dance is just all about having fun, showing your best moves, dancing with each other. That's all what it's all about.
The event is the brainchild of Neil Forrester, and it's a partnership between Variety Village and his own charity called Substance Cares.
Dance Able is really an event that's open to everybody of all abilities. Really, the intention and the goal was to create sort of an event that, you know, these people otherwise wouldn't have been able to have unless somebody created that for them.
It started 9 years ago with 500 guests, and this year there are 2,500 involved. Dance instructor Allie Phillips is the director of Bust a Move, a dance company for kids and adults with disabilities. And she says Dance Able brings people so many benefits.
The fitness aspect, yes, it's a powerful aspect, but I think there is a deep emotional and like spiritual aspect of dance too, like a self-confidence building aspect of dance that I think is really powerful.
The event is not a fundraiser, it's simply a free, non-alcoholic dance party.
We'll have all ages, we'll have all abilities, we'll have people who are real dancers, who are in wheelchairs, who are on walkers, we'll have seniors, and it's just so inclusive. You're in the lakefront, you're in a nightclub, and everyone comes together, and it's music that bonds and just gets people on their feet and jumping and dancing.
Marilyn Jang says it even gets her on the dance floor, and with its 10th anniversary coming up, next year's Dance Able event promises to continue to grow. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A vigil was held last night to honor and remember victims of the AIDS epidemic. More than 40 million people have died from AIDS-related illnesses since the start of the pandemic back in the 1980s. Last night's candlelight vigil at the AIDS Memorial in Barbara Hall Park honored the lives lost.
You know, the AIDS vigil here, the monument is incredibly, incredibly important. It's such an important part of Toronto and our collective history. And so having folks together to commemorate that, to commemorate the folks that we have lost, to remember, and to also push forward with that memory that we will continue to honor and care for each other.
The AIDS Memorial was first created in the 1980s, and a permanent memorial was installed in 1993. Names are added to it every year.
Researchers in Australia have revealed a new artificial intelligence tool that could change how some cancers are diagnosed and treated. The team at the Garvan Institute of Medical Research say they have developed an AI tool that identified 5 distinct types of cells within tumors. Tumors are made up of different cells that respond differently to treatment, and that can often lead to worse outcomes for cancer patients. But prior to this tool, the team says researchers haven't been able to clearly classify those differences. The authors say the findings will make it easier to find therapies that better target all types of tumor cells. The research was published in the journal Cancer Discovery.
72 people have now fallen ill after eating salami that was recalled because of a possible salmonella contamination. The Public Health Agency of Canada released an updated notice today on an outbreak of salmonella infections linked to several types of Ria brand Genoa salami. Now, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency recalled the products in Ontario, Alberta, and Manitoba on June 10th. Of those infected, 57 were in Alberta, with 14 in Ontario and 1 in Manitoba. 7 have been hospitalized since the recall was issued.
The final trailer is out for a movie Marvel is hoping will turn out to be its summer blockbuster.
Famous around the world, please welcome the Fantastic Four.
The Fantastic Four, our first step, stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Backrack as the iconic quartet of superheroes. In typical Marvel fashion, they're called upon to save Earth from a serious threat from outer space. The movie hits theaters July 25th.
Still to come, it's not unusual for water bills to get more costly in the summer, but 2 residents were shocked to get hit with totals of more than $20,000. Details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Many will be using extra water as the summer continues, whether it's filling up the pool, watering the flowers, or running through a sprinkler.
It's important to keep a close eye on your water usage. 2 CTV viewers got a shock when they received water bills for thousands of dollars. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
I was shocked. I actually laughed because I'm like, there's no way that this is correct.
Alan Dioki Singh bought a unit in this Scarborough condominium. In the fall of 2023, he was told his water consumption was higher than usual. And even though it's a newer building, he eventually found out he had not 1, but 2 leaky toilets.
I just don't know how you could let this thing run for 6 months and let it just add up.
Dioki Singh had to pay a water bill of $9,000. He rents out the unit and says before he could get the toilets replaced, he was hit again with another bill of $8,500 for a total of more than $17,000.
Think of it, I'm paying, you're looking at $17,000 you want from me because of water.
This is not just about me. This could happen to anybody.
Olive May of Welland had a toilet running in her basement and was shocked to get a bill of more than $7,500. Her son-in-law says she is only billed every 3 months and was given no warning that something was wrong.
We're not denying that it leaked. We just think that it's an exorbitant amount of money to pay for a water bill.
Dioki Singh's water provider, PowerStream Energy Services, says he must pay the outstanding bill, telling CTV News, "We are aware of a plumbing issue impacting this residence. Water usage within a property remains the responsibility of the account holder." May has also been told she must pay her water bill in full. The city of Welland said the homeowner acknowledged a leaky toilet. Every homeowner is responsible for the water consumed on their property. To avoid high water bills, listen and check for leaky toilets. You should be able to hear running water, or you can put food dye in the back of the tank and see if it leaks through to the toilet bowl. May and Dioki Singh remain frustrated. They have to pay the huge water bills.
I paid more than my fair share. Let's just get on with my life.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
New forecasts suggest Canada's economy is set to take a hit this year because of the trade war with the U.S., but it won't be a worst-case scenario. The year actually started off strong, with businesses rushing orders to get ahead of trade barriers. But Deloitte Canada says a modest recession is likely to impact the country in the second and third quarters. The report links that outcome to uncertainty and weakness from U.S. tariffs taking effect. At the same time, economists with Desjardins say the downturn would have been much worse if Canada hadn't secured exemptions from tariffs on exports that comply with the North American Trade Agreement. And shares in FedEx fell today as a logistics company forecasted lower than expected profits for the current quarter. Representatives shared the news in a webcast yesterday, blaming a volatile global environment in terms of demand. CEO Raj Subramaniam pointed to uncertainties around U.S. trade policies and moves by U.S. President Donald Trump to revoke duty-free status on some consumer shipments from China. Shares in UPS and DHL also slid in early trading.
A popular dating app is planning to lay off nearly a third of its workforce. Bumble announced today around 30% of its staff, or 240 employees, will be losing their jobs. The dating app industry has been facing headwinds as people have cut back on discretionary spending during ongoing economic uncertainty, and other companies have taken similar steps. Bumble says it expects to save about $40 million in annual costs that it plans to reinvest in product and tech development.
The sports, the Blue Jays will try to make it 2 straight when they take on the Guardians tonight.
2 down. And a high fly ball to deep left center field. It's gone!
George Springer broke the game open yesterday with a grand slam in the 8th inning, and the Blue Jays held on to beat the Guardians 10-6. That was Springer's 11th home run this season. Max Scherzer is expected to start for the Jays tonight after being out since March with a thumb injury.
2 former Toronto Maple Leafs are being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Jumbo Joe Thornton and Alexander McGillney among the 8 people getting into the Hall of Fame. Thornton spent 1 season with the Leafs during the 2020-21 season and was viewed as a valuable leader with the Leafs core. McGillney spent 3 seasons with the Leafs in the early 2000s, putting up 166 points and 176 games. Other players inducted are Duncan Keith, Zdeno Chara, Jennifer Botterill, and Brianna Decker.
Toronto FC will play its first match in nearly a month tonight.
Picks out a Bonner. That's a pinch of a pass. It's Leanna Bonner. And he squares it back. He's been able to arrive and to score for Charlotte.
The Reds are in the middle of 5 straight games at BMO Field, but have lost 3 in a row. TFC is 14th in the Eastern Conference, 12 points out of the final play-in spot. Kickoff tonight is set for 7:30.
Lovely ball through to Jonathan David. It's 1-0. Jonathan David with the goal.
Canada's moving on to the knockout rounds at the Gold Cup. Jonathan David finally got Canada on the board in the second half after previously having a penalty kick saved. The Canadians were playing 2 men up after a pair of first-half red cards by El Salvador. Canada wins 2-0 to top Group B and will take on Guatemala in the quarterfinal Sunday afternoon. Coming up, Canada's first super tall building right here in Toronto, the big milestone in the city skyline.
A so-called super tall building is now towering over our city.
It's Canada's tallest residential structure, and CTV's Beth McDonnell took in the view from the top.
It's so tall, it's super tall. One Bloor West has just secured its status as Canada's first super tall building, and it's the 2nd tallest man-made structure in the country, next to the CN Tower. Here we go on the ascent, up 1 elevator, then another, then up another 6 flights of stairs to the big reveal. It's one of the highest places people will live on the land, a vista workers take in on the regular.
This is our corner office. This is what we do every day, and this is it's the best job in the world, I think.
300 meters or 85 stories is a serious climb. The view, absolutely impressive. Looking down is wow and yikes. One Bloor West has been rising for about 12 years. The celebration, reaching its super tall status, comes after a lot of work, from design to construction to setbacks. In 2023, the building went into receivership. Tridel officially took over the project in May.
It feels amazing. It really does, on so many levels. And it's kind of a pun dealing with the height of this building, but it's fun to have some participation in you know, a super tall building, which up until today didn't exist in Canada.
The building set to have 470 residential units, a 5-star hotel, and retail space is expected to be completed in 2028. While much of the exterior is done, machinery and the inside are still big jobs ahead. For those involved since the beginning of the tower, the milestone is meaningful.
Very gratifying. It's an unbelievable feeling. You sometimes forget about it because you have so many other things to do, and all of a sudden you're like, oh geez, we did that. It's quite a good feeling.
A time capsule of memorable moments from the building's history was also created for the special occasion. But the skyscraper may not keep its super tall status for too long. A 106-story tower is already being planned to go up at the foot of Yonge Street. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
And you got to give Beth props for getting up so high to do that story.
Incredible. How did she not feel dizzy? I feel dizzy watching it. Amazing.
Yes, and on a bright, sunny day like that, you really get to enjoy the view. We have a few more clouds today. Tomorrow, we are going to have some wet weather to contend with. Let's talk about overnight tonight. This is some good news. It's going to be a little more comfortable for those living without air conditioning. Sleeping likely to be a little better tonight compared to the last few nights. And then tomorrow's daytime high, a fresher feel for sure. We are talking highs in the low 20s, starting off the day perhaps with a few showers. In fact, you'll want to pay attention all day long and keep that umbrella close by. Friday, it's a bit of a different setup. We're looking at the risk of thunderstorms. The weekend, brighter skies, especially Sunday. That looks great, and we're heating up into next week again. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.